Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, a creative content right here in Chesterfield, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. It is springtime in Chesterfield, which means, well, if you're folks from Mental Health Support Services, especially from Prevention Services, especially here in our office and Constituent Media Services, so many services, so little time, it means it's accidental drug dealer time, and this is a thing that Chesterfield does every spring, middle of March into April, and we'll talk about it here with Allison Butler, who is with Prevention Services. Allison, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I very much appreciate that you are willing to come here and get behind the mic once again. Allison was with us a couple years ago. It was one of our first dozen or so episodes, in fact. And that was back in the video days, which was a very different animal. So I'm very glad to have you back here in the studio. Now, this is your second time being on the podcast.
Yep.
But for folks who maybe are new to the show or didn't see that first one, let me start here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, what role you have with Prevention Services, and how you kind of landed there and how you came to be sitting across from me today.
Well, like you said, my name is Allison Butler, and I work for Chesterfield County Mental Health Support Services in the Prevention Department. And I'm going to date myself here, but I have been in the prevention world for about 24 years.
Okay.
I started out in Kentucky, and then we moved here almost 8 years ago. So
Okay.
I landed in Chesterfield County in their prevention department
Right.
almost 8 years ago.
Right.
And I am the official SOAR grant coordinator.
Okay.
And SOAR stands for the State Opioid Response Grant. So
Okay.
that's what I do.
Yeah.
Opioids.
And in terms of the work you do, I mean, it sounds like when you're talking about grant writing and that kind of thing, it sounds like something that is fairly intensive, and certainly given the opioid crisis that we have experienced in this country in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and it feels like it's exponential. This is a campaign that Mental Health and Prevention Services do, like I said, annually, essentially targeted strategically at folks who either have medication that maybe they don't need anymore, right? Or they have medication that they do need, but they need to secure. Obviously, like I said, this is something you guys do every spring. We help you with it. Before we dive in too deep, can you explain to me what exactly an accidental drug dealer, what that means? Because I think it's one of those kind of phrases, I mean, we use it on purpose because it's kind of attention getting. But tell me a little bit about sort of what that actually means and why people why it resonates with people so much. Well,
we found, like you said, it was a kind of a catchy slogan. We didn't want to offend anybody or anything, but
Right.
we just wanted to bring attention because it's such an important topic,
Right.
about just securing your medications in your home, just to keep them away from children,
Right.
teenagers, pets, other people who come into your home, so they don't take them.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times in these situations, right, it's not intentional, right? And that's why the accidental piece is so prevalent, because you've got either folks who have medicine that they're actively taking, right? They are medicine they are prescribed, right? I think it's like 60% or something like that, I think is what the language says, of kids ages 12 and under, if they overdose on pain relievers, it's because of some accidental sort of situation like this. And it feels like that's a significant amount of, the population who are, because we know painkillers, those types of prescribed medications are very prevalent these days, and kids are curious and they sort of get their hands on them. That accidental aspect seems to be fairly substantial in this day and age.
When you talk to kids, most of them get them from their parents or friends' medicine cabinets, and then they in turn take them to school or give them to their friends or use them. So
Right.
it's just important to keep track of your medications.
Right. And it's one of those things too, I think, that for a lot of people, they think, oh, that wouldn't happen to me. But I mean, I know from my own personal experience, when my dad would take medicine and it would be really easy for one to slip out of his hand and be on the ground, which is one of the reasons why I know for this campaign, count it, lock it, discard it was the sort of tagline. And I think it really does a great job of drilling right down to the heart of it, which is knowing how many medications you have, being able to lock them up and secure them, and being able to discard them. Let's go through those. The tagline, obviously, like I said, count it, lock it, discard it. Why is it so important for people to count their medication? What's the benefit there, and what sort of things are we trying to avoid?
Well, I think first off, if you're like me, sometimes I forget if I take my medication.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's a good idea to keep track how many you have, and then you can tell whether, did I take my medicine today?
Yeah, right.
Because on some of these, if you take too many, it could have really serious side effects or
Absolutely.
consequences.
Yeah.
So keeping track of your own medications, and then you're able to tell if you find some that are missing.
Right.
And it'll be able to say, hey, I thought I had 10 in here, but now I only see
Right.
I have 5.
Right.
So it's just a good way to keep track of what you're doing personally, and then what other people in your house may be doing.
Right. Now, in terms of the locket, once you've counted your medicine, you have a good feel for how many you're supposed to have. It's obviously a good idea to make sure it's secure, right? Whether that's children, whether that's maybe your teenagers' friends who happen to come over, maybe if you've got like a dinner party or you got people that come into your house, it's good to secure your medication because you never really know sort of who's around and that kind of thing. Even though we feel like we have a good sense of who people are, you never really can know what might be out there. Tell us why this is such a important piece of the puzzle and what options Chesterfield residents have in terms of the resources to be able to secure the medication.
Like I said, locking it up is just as important. A lot of people just keep them in their bathrooms or sometimes like me, or their kitchen cabinets.
Right.
And then people have access to it, and you're
Right.
not even sure, that who is coming and going or who
Right.
might have taken something.
Right.
So it's we have these locking medicine bags. We used to have boxes, but the bags I think are more portable, so you
Right.
can keep them in a drawer.
Right.
It's great if you travel. You can put them in a bag, your suitcase, and it has a lock or a digital lock or not a digital lock, but one of those
As the pass key, essentially.
pass key,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
And then or a combination code.
Right.
So you have access to it, and you could hide it in a drawer or in your room someplace away from other people.
Right. Now, those locking bags obviously are in tandem with the disposal bags, which is the discarded portion of this. So if you have medications that you no longer need, or maybe you have a family member, which was my situation, quite frankly, where you have someone who passes away, you no longer need that medicine. It's the safest way to deal with that medicine and be able to get rid of those pills. Instead of putting them in the trash, though, obviously it's so much safer to use one of these disposable bags. Can you explain to people what these bags are and how it all works?
Yeah. I'm also ashamed to admit I was cleaning out my bathroom closet and I found these medications I had from 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so people don't realize, that they have things that are expired or things they haven't used in a while.
Right.
And they just lose track.
Yeah.
And so we have these great disposal bag options. You just put your medications in them. They take pills, patches, or liquids. I think each bag holds up to 45 pills.
Yeah.
You unzip them, you put your pills in, and you add water, and you close them up, and they go right into the trash can, and they're biodegradable.
Yeah.
So they don't pollute the waterways, which is very important because people were, mixing them with coffee grounds
Right.
and then flushing them down the toilet,
Right.
or they end up in the landfill, which would then contaminate the groundwater,
Right.
or that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
this is a much safer method.
Yeah. And I got to be honest, like I said, my own personal experience, this is something we did when my dad passed away. And it was actually really, this sounds terrible, but it was interesting in a way because I was very curious, like what was going to happen. And this was something a product I was very conscious of, right? It's something I've talked about a lot, helped promote a lot. We've had you on the podcast. And so I put the thing in there, put the water, sealed it up, and it just, you can hear it fizzing, and you sort of know it's doing its work. And then very quickly you can hear it. It goes from, several things in there sloshing around to all of a sudden it's just water. It's just liquid. And that entire process, I got to be honest, was kind of fascinating from a science standpoint. And it's really cool that, we're at a place where, a resource like this could be available. Now, if you're listening right now and you're wondering where you can go, if you're watching this on YouTube, Martin's probably already put up the list of locations, but the library, which, in this day and age, certainly since COVID, it feels like the library is like a great vehicle for the county to do different things. I'm not going to go through all 11, but basically it's all of the Chesterfield County Public Library locations, as well as the Police Administration Building's lobby desk here at the Police Department HQ across the street. Why do you feel like the libraries were such a natural fit for you guys in terms of partnering with them to be able to provide and distribute these locking bags and disposal vouchers?
Well, they're a great education resource for the county anyways. I mean, you go there, you can get so much information, and they have so many programs there for free for Chesterfield County residents. So we thought this makes perfect sense since they distribute information anyways, and they were more than happy to help. So you can go to any of the 10 Chesterfield County Library locations, and they have the locking bags for free. They have the disposal pouches for free. And I would also like to mention that if you do have a opioid prescription, because a lot of people do need them for a variety of reasons, and they do have them, it's also a good idea to also pick up some Narcan, and they have it for free as well at the library, and it's like one per person.
Okay.
And it's the only medication that can reverse an opioid overdose.
Right.
So if somebody would take too much, or if a child or anybody would get into some of the medication, the opioid medication, this is the only way to reverse the overdose until the paramedics can arrive.
Yeah, and I mean that, and I know that has been a lifesaver for a number of people already. Just that those options are there, and certainly at the library. I feel like as we sort of wrap up here, it feels like the disposal bags, the locking bags, that they are such a great resource. We should emphasize, I guess, though, that this is while supplies last. So if you go to the libraries and you want to pick up a couple of these, please know that there's a limited number of bags. So by the time you hear this, there might not be any left. If those of us in the promotion business have done our job correctly. But I know that this is something you guys do every year. Are there times during the year when those things get restocked?
During the campaign through March through the end of April, we do a good job of keeping the library stocked. We have a lot of inventory that we just purchased.
Right.
So, and then we've been successful in getting further funding to get them throughout the year.
Gotcha.
So we've Jen Shepley at the library will email me. She goes, "Allison, we're running low." So I run over there and give her some more supplies. Cool. But we do keep them well stocked. And if you have a lot of medication, you can go to, you said the Chesterfield County headquarters, and they have a large drop box.
Okay,
so
great.
You can it's open 24/7, and just go in, take all your medication, drop it in the box. It's like a big mailbox.
Okay.
And they'll take larger doses of medicine.
Okay.
And then I think it's at the end of April. It's the last Saturday in April. They have the medication take back day.
Oh,
event
that's right. Yeah, good point.
With the police department. It's over at Wegmans from 10 to 2.
Okay. Good deal.
So it's great just to drive by if you have a large, people, like you said, it's spring cleaning time. That's why we like to run this campaign in March, because it makes people think, I need to clean out some of my stuff.
Exactly. And again, if you have any questions, if you haven't seen the website, or if you're watching the YouTube, you've probably seen it already, but it's chesterfield.gov/safe disposal. And if you have any questions, all the information is there. Allison, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking to us about this campaign.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thanks. All right. Now, make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia, all one word. And on Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield on the mic. Now, make sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Google Podcasts, or wherever it is that your programs are sold. And if you'd like to leave us a rating or review, we'd greatly appreciate it. As always, a video version of our show is available on our YouTube channel, as well as on our website at chesterfield.gov/podcast. That's also where you can submit feedback anytime, make suggestions, or just reach out to us. You can watch the show on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon. That is Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, check out chesterfield.gov/connect with us find out a number of other ways to connect with Chesterfield County. My thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Teresa Boniface, and all the good folks from Constituent Media Services for all they do. And my thanks to you for joining us today. So from all of us here in Chesterfield, thanks again for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again real soon. Take good care. From blogs to podcasts, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. Newsletters to alerts, social media, the latest community news.
Welcome to the latest installment of This Week in Chesterfield.
How to get in touch, and everything in between. If you want to know about Chesterfield County, our Connect With Us webpage has you covered. Chesterfield.gov/connect with us. Connect with us, your source for all things Chesterfield.